Hello again, Zolar. Thanks again for coming to me. Being a loyal noob school student, I really appreciate it, and I always enjoy doing these types of casts. So, let's go ahead and get right into it. Very clearly a premeditated strategy here for Scrap Station in particular, floating to the island. I actually don't like this. It's interesting because if only just because you can get really inside of your opponent's head and just kind of throw them off. They're not really sure how to play against this just because it's an atypical scenario. But at the very least, there are some clear advantages or disadvantages, and I'm going to be talking about a lot of those disadvantages over the course of this game, because the entire game for your base takes place right here. That's this is your world right here. So the first clear disadvantage is, you can only load up 5 workers, so you start off only mining from 5 instead of 6. So this lonely SCV gets left for dead, left behind. All of his friends pack up in the command center, head for the new world. Lonely SCV is just sent to, do whatever he can. So you start off with just fewer SCVs than your opponent, and that translates into, a significant decrease in income at the very beginning. You can see your opponent has about 440 income, you have about 300, and that's a pretty big deal at the beginning of the game. Just having 3 or 4 more harvesters than your opponent, that's quite significant. So just for that reason alone, it automatically puts you a little bit behind. Now you've got the advantage of being there are certainly advantages. For instance, you're completely safe to a 6 pool. If a Zerg decides to 6 pool you or any other real early pool, boy is he gonna feel silly when his lings show up and there's no base there. Certainly that will save you games. I wouldn't argue against that at all. But some of the disadvantages, I don't think I want to go into a whole lot of them yet, but as I start seeing the problems happening, I have watched this game already, as I start seeing the problems happening, I will be pointing them out as I see them. Okay, so we're also seeing, actually I'm going to watch this just from your perspective for now. We are seeing you throw down this supply depot right here, which I think is awesome. I think it's excellent. Although you can actually use an engineering bay is a little bit cheaper than a supply depot. So there's that. Cheaper in terms of health per minerals. I don't exactly remember how much health an engineering bay has instead of a supply depot. A supply depot is 100, engineering bay is 125, but an engineering bay has a lot more health than a supply depot. I don't know, you can go look up those numbers, but I think the preferred building for most people is an engineering bay. Plus you have the advantage that you don't get supply blocked whenever they go and actually kill it. Okay, so your build at the beginning. The build is you're getting gas a little bit too fast, I think. Yeah, because I think what's going to happen here in a second is you're going to have a little bit more gas than you can spend for a while, and then when the build is fully transitioned into this 2 starport thing that goes on, you're going to have not enough gas, and the reason you're never going to have enough gas for that build is because you can't possibly expand, and I think that's the biggest disadvantage of what you're doing right here, is the inability to expand. And basically your inability to expand, and then also your inability to attack from any angle you want. Pretty much when you're at this island, you're going to want to drop right here. That's the only place you're going to really want to drop.
Base is under attack.
See, taking down the supply depot, you're going to have to build another supply depot a little bit early. But you're basically going to only be able to attack from one direction. You don't want to drop your troops here and then walk them around. That would just be silly. You don't want to drop your troops here, because that leaves your entire base in this area open. I mean, it creates a very one-dimensional attack where you can only really attack from one angle. So a well-prepared Zerg could do all kinds of stuff. They could get tons of spore crawlers up, or just line a Hydralisks right there, because you're clearly going to have to drop. to get any ground units in there.
Is under attack.
Choice of sensor tower I think is perfect. I think it's absolutely perfect that you have all this vision around here. Great decision. Certainly. Engineering bay, I would, if you're going to do this build again, I would actually just cut this out. It's, you know, your engineering bay hasn't done anything yet, so why build it, really? And we're about to see the portion of this build where you just get not enough gas. And a little bit of that is just a product of having only 2 guys in gas for actually a large portion of the game. If you weren't aware of it, it was actually just patched in that you can actually click on one of the refineries and see how many people you have on gas. I personally use that all the time. Very, very useful. Okay, so getting the double cloaked banshees up. You know, I'm actually going to go back on what I said about having too much gas at the start, because you did get the sensor tower out pretty quickly, which is, you know, a significant gas investment, but I actually think it's a good one, so I take it back. The student is teaching the teacher. I like it. Okay, so starting to get the banshees out. At this point, I would be a little bit concerned with trying to scout in any way you can. I don't think it's a bad idea at all to just take one of these banshees and say if your opponent, I'm not sure if your opponent already knows that you're going for banshees. Let's see, he has sight, he's seen a starport, so it's pretty reasonable that he could guess banshees. So if you, this is kind of a personal choice right here, if you want to go in with the first banshee and just poke around and see what he has, you know, see if he has a lair or not, or you can just choose to wait for a couple banshees. And I usually wouldn't wait for more than 2 banshees. In fact, in this game you push out with 2 banshees and it works out very nicely for you, so I think that's a good idea. The other thing that's happening in this game is there's just so little space. There's very, very little space in this base to actually build stuff. So you end up floating a lot of minerals right here. That's 1,400 minerals. That's a huge amount of minerals this early in the game. And I think a lot of that's just a result of not having a lot of space to build stuff. You know, you could fit a couple barracks in here, maybe a couple barracks there, or there, but really, you know, your mineral units that you're going to want to just dump minerals on are probably Marines. And so at this point in the build, you know, if you ever see yourself with over 1,000 minerals, you should be kind of in a panic mode at that point. You need to keep those minerals as low as possible. This is great awareness. You know, Cloak just finished having the awareness to go in right as soon as Cloak's done. He's totally unprepared at this moment, although he does have a Hydra Den already, so you should be seeing this. At this point, I'm going to pause real quick. At this point, I think it is legitimate if you wanted to try to take out the Hydra Den, because you don't see any Hydras coming out now. You can see some eggs, which you can't tell what's in the eggs, but we can see they're going to be Hydras, because he needs to get rid of these banshees. But even if you could just, you know, position your banshees somewhere around here so they have a really fast retreat path, I think you could focus down this Hydra Den even before any of those Hydralisks come out, so that the only Hydralisks he'll have are these small number of them until he can rebuild that den. And I think one of the most key things of effective Banshee use is always having a retreat path. So always be as close to some kind of edge or barrier as you can. You can see right here, you know, you're just floating in the middle of his base, and it's going to be quite a walk to actually get to this edge somewhere. So you see the Hydras coming out, a little bit of a delayed reaction there, but even if you had, you know, immediately ran your banshees away, it's quite possible you would have lost 1 or 2 of them anyway. So I'd say always try to keep your banshees just along the outskirts here, where they can run away really fast. And the banshee gets away. So like, nice little overseer kill right there. Look for, if you've got banshees, look for structures that are on the edge somewhere that you can easily harass. For instance, you could put a banshee here and just totally kill this roach warren very easily. You can park a banshee here and take out this extractor without too much trouble. yeah, the other big disadvantage, or I kind of covered this disadvantage already with being on the island, is a lack of scouting. Just because you can't get off your island, so you actually have no idea where he's going to expand to. And this was actually a very good move on the Zerg's part, to go straight to the gold expansion, because there's actually no way you're going to be able to move all of your units all the way over here to take out this expansion. He could easily just have some kind of attack come in while your units are so far out of position and just kill you, straight up just kill you. Another nice little drop happening. Again, I'd say this is a fault of your opponent, to not be more prepared for drops along this area. I think if he were playing better, it would be good to spread creep here for sure. Get a couple spore crawlers out for detection and for denying drops like this. Can be very, very effective. And then some more banshees coming in. And the banshees are cool, but I'm gonna have to just emphasize so much the amount of minerals that you're floating right now. Just to translate that into you know, to look at what that could be, what 3,000 minerals could mean if they had been spent. Just take a look at this army value in terms of minerals. He's got an 1,800 mineral army, and you've got an 850 mineral army. If you had had a lot more barracks, you know, like 5 more at least, to just continually pump out minerals, all 3,000 of that could easily be converted to minerals. I guess not quite 3,000 of it, you know, you'd have to build more supply depots and stuff like that, but still, that's a pretty significant portion. And you know, once again, engineering bay has not been used. Next time, just cut the engineering bay out. We only build an engineering bay if you know you want to build turrets, which I guess you got it for the sensor tower, so I take that back, whatever. Alright, so Banshee Harass coming in. See, this is a much nicer position for the Banshees because they can easily retreat out. This one's not quite going to make it, but as you can see, with a little faster reactions, you can just easily scoot away there. So I think that's really, really great positioning. And gosh, looking at this much money, it just kind of hurts, really, because you know, just anytime you see that amount of money, you should be really, really panicking at that point. Nice, taking out one overlord, taking out another overlord. Okay, decently, for sure. But yeah, this over 3,000 amount of minerals, you could line your entire base with a million billion turrets, and it would be totally inaccessible to the Zerg. He would have no way to drop any troops. He couldn't nidus. Any mutalisks he tried to make would be impossible. He would basically have to attack the broodlords to do anything. So I would strongly recommend, you know, anything you can do to spend your money, spend that much money, you just got to get rid of it in any way you can. And this is the part where it's very painful to be on this island, because at this point you're totally stuck. You can see there's one Hydralisk going to come over here. It's basically going to deny that expansion. One more coming in. Oh, taking out the Overseer. Now the Banshees can come in. But yeah, I don't know. I would strongly urge you not to go for this kind of silly little island play. I think it's actually possibly even more legitimate on maybe a map like Metalopolis, where not only do you get to float off to another main, I'm talking about, you can just float to the gold in the middle, and while it is easily scoutable because you can see each of the mains from the watchtowers, it also gives you a nice economic advantage at the very beginning, and it makes them scout you very last. So now I think it's a good choice. I actually think it would be a great decision to take out this Hydralisk Den, because it would basically give your your Banshees free range for a while. I'd say that's a theme that we could look at. So you still have yet to really scout anywhere on the map. Again, a disadvantage of this expansion style. Also load up SCVs. You know, you're almost mined out of your island. Load up SCVs if you're gonna try to float to a new main. I can just, you know, get your economy pumping a little bit faster. Also, you can get out just a couple medevacs. Really, just you can just get one medevac out to do your SCV transfers when you want to. Oh no, losing Banshees. Didn't know the expansion was there. So just some Hydralisks just came out. Bam! Shoot those little spines. Not cool. One tip that I would advise is getting used to hitting the spacebar whenever you're, you know, say you're just doing something in your main, and you know you have some units, like, you know, for instance, now you know that these Vikings are out. Getting ready to hit spacebar to just jump to whatever notification you can at the start. So like if you're in your base like this right now, and you know there's about to be a ping on the map, just hit spacebar and you'll jump straight over there. If you can get used to doing that really quickly, it can save you a lot of units sometimes during those scenarios that, you know, inevitably happen to everyone, where you just, you know, fly your Banshees into a bunch of Hydralisks. It happens. So yeah, if you didn't know about the harvester thing, I think it's a good idea to get into a habit of just clicking on those every once in a while. You know, as you're macroing in your base, just give it a quick click. I often find that I have too many. I ended up with 4 workers fairly frequently.
Upgrade complete.
Overlord harass is always good, but I'd maybe advise against doing it with such a small Viking army, just because a queen is actually quite a good anti-air unit, and so really, in order to make it worth it, you need, you know, 5, 6 Vikings or so to really do a whole lot of damage. And once again, you know, notice, like I was saying, every single attack is coming from the same direction. It worked out for you this game, but I think versus a more perceptive Zerg opponent, he could actually just set up some impossible defenses that would not allow you to attack right here, and thus any other attack path you'd have would be not so good. Not so good at all. This right here, I would call that a little bit of an overeager stim. And this is, okay, there's a lot to see in this battle right here. This is actually very, very bad positioning for your Marines. Marines aren't good against Hydralisks anyway. Hydras just do so much damage that, you know, Marines pretty much just melt. But I'm going to back this up just a little bit and show you what's happening here. Your Marines could have done a lot better, and I'll just explain a little bit how to do better. Okay, first of all, the stim that happens here I think is a little bit overeager. I would wait to stim at the very last possible moment when you know you're going to need to stim. So really, I think you were just stimming because your units were attacking, and it ends up being okay because you've got so many medevacs, but I just want to point that out anyway, just so you know, don't stim if you don't have to. It's a pretty serious detriment to Marines' health. But the real thing I want to talk about was the battle that happens right here. You've got a group of Marines here and here and here, and then there's only these small little entrances where they could actually get in range of all the Hydras that were right here. Now the Hydras don't have a good arc on you either, so I think that's why you end up winning the fight. But I think if the Hydras had even a little bit better arc, they possibly could have won that fight. So as this is happening, I'm going to slow it down to normal speed. Watch how there's only one Marine getting in range of the Hydralisk here, and one Marine here, or, you know, more than one, but just a couple. And then there's a bunch just kind of running around back here, not able to get in range because there's nowhere they can go. So attack coming in, a little bit overeager of a stim, and then going to be some serious choke points right here. So this Marine's the only one able to attack the Hydralisk. That Marine's the only one attacking the Hydralisk. Like 2 or 3 Marines right there are the only ones attacking the Hydralisk. All these Marines in the back are just shuffling around, not able to do anything. These Hydras are getting 4 kills, 1 kill, 5 kills, a lot of kills, and this is all with medevacs healing the entire time. So definitely not an ideal engagement for your Marines. And what I think I would have done in this situation is when you see those Hydras coming, you should either back up and make them come into you so that they're the ones in all this confinement next to these minerals and these buildings and all that, and you're just standing here getting this great big arc on them. Or if you want to just go in for the attack, I would run your units forward, and there's a little stutter technique you can do where if you have all your Marines selected, you'll right click where you want to go and then hit S for stop. Or you can just right click and then hit A, and there you go. Hit A and then click forward. And the idea is you'll move forward just a little bit and then take an attack, and then move forward just a little bit and take an attack. And every time you move forward, you're getting more and more of these Marines that are in the back to actually be able to get in range, while the front ones are most likely dying, but at least, you know, moving forward to let the rest of the units attack. I covered that kind of stutter step micro in a couple of my videos if you want to check that out. Very useful technique. But yeah, I think that was this engagement definitely could have gone quite a bit better. And then of course things like, you know, one of those times if you had chosen to take out the Hydra Den and the Zerg didn't immediately rebuild it, maybe because he didn't notice, then there wouldn't be a whole nother spawn of Hydras coming in. Although roaches would be a better choice, honestly, against Marines. And the Hydras were able to come in and clean that up quite nicely. So get those medevacs out of there. And yeah. So now you're mined out of the island, and just due to the restrictive nature of this island, you can't even get off it. And so at this point, your Zerg buddy has not been faring very well for a long time, although he's got 1,300 minerals, 1,300 gas. He's stockpiled a fair amount of larvae, but he is not too high in supply, and so he'd be having to make overlords and stuff to get more units out. And this is scary. This is scary right here. He's getting smart. You can tell he's figured it out. He's figured out every single attack is going to come right from here. So he's got units lined up. He's going to be totally safe in this spot. Now look at you being a strategic mastermind genius and going down here. Really, he should realize that. He should be covering his entire spot. So I wouldn't call that a win on your part. I would call that a loss on his part. Nice positioning of the medevacs. It's always nice to get the medevacs as far back as possible, just so they're not accidentally taking any damage. And I think at this point you're just going to roll in and win, right? I think so. Target firing down the hatchery. Another thing you certainly didn't have to do at this time. Another thing you can do is whenever these broodlings come out, you can just run away from them. They die in a couple seconds anyway, but you can stand and fight too if you want. Also, if you're ever in a scenario like this where there's a lot of eggs about to come out and pop, put your units right on top of them so there's absolutely nowhere they can go, and you have like a perfect surround on them, and your auto target firing will completely dominate theirs. But you know, it doesn't end up mattering a whole lot here. Nice stim going on, and he's gonna GG out of it. So I don't actually think he was in an impossible scenario, because you actually had nothing going on in terms of mineral income. You know, if you hadn't won with that group of Marines, you'd have this group of Marines and some Vikings. But other than that, you would have had to get an expansion somewhere. And it's possible he could have just denied that expansion and remacroed up at this base. So, yeah, I would advise against not doing that. It's cute, it's clever, it'll throw off some people. This Zerg in particular did not defend against it super well, but I think overall it just has more disadvantages than advantages. But yeah, always I guess key points to take from this is the importance of just being able to spend all your money. That, you know, that 3,000 minerals that we were looking at earlier. As you're watching your own replays, just hit the army tab, look at the amount of money you have, and then look at the value of your army, and just translate all the extra money you have up here into actual, you know, something worthwhile in the game over here. And you'll see that if you're just able to spend all the money you get, you'll just quite simply just have way more units and just win like that. Anyway, alright, well, thanks again for coming to me with a replay. If you've got, your replays are some of my favorites that I ever get from a student. So if you've ever got any more you want to share with me, I would be happy to cast them again. Take it easy, have fun, GG, and good luck. Hope this was helpful.